Welcome back. Today I thought we'd cover a BuzzFeed video. It's been a while and I fully expect a copyright claim on the subject of dating and being HIV positive. Now before we do that, I'm going to need a sandwich. And I have been told that this particular wench makes the very best sandwiches. Oh, Sammich Wench, is this true?
That's right, Meg. Prepare for the best goddamn sandwich you're ever gonna have in your life. See, we got some of this. We got some of this. No. No. God damn it. Now that is a quality sandwich.
Delicious. I have always wanted a biscotti tin between two pieces of lettuce sandwich. It's original. Top marks for giving me tin poisoning. Now that is thynameisskepticism. She is an adorable skeptic, and you should all go check her out. Channel link below. Now let's get on with this video.
It's kind of interesting in the gay community that we went through so much profiling in our history, and yet we are the first to profile our peers.
Do you think people weren't already doing that? Regardless of persecution, oppression, inequality, and any other buzz term you want to use to describe the past, it's kind of in our nature to judge each other in some way. I often find it's always good to set a reasonable benchmark, so as long as I look better than this, I'm happy.
My initial reaction when I found out I was HIV positive was that I was never, ever going to have sex again. I was never going to be in a relationship again. It just was basically over. And that lasted for quite a while.
Later in this video you mentioned not dating since the 80s, and that is terrible. It is also terrible that you felt what you felt upon learning that you were HIV positive. It is very similar the negative reaction to someone who finds out they have cancer, with no more information given, just that they have cancer. The dread is terrifying. But in both instances, and once you had regained sufficient control of your senses, you would be able to either look at treatments and consider your dating options. Now, of course, back in the 80s, that was very limited as far as treatments, and for you, dating is limited, and some would argue that if you are HIV positive, you should only date people who are also HIV positive. I, of course, disagree with this, but only if necessary precautions are taken and the person you are with knows the situation.
I didn't know what to do, where to turn. I didn't think I was ever going to be worth dating after being HIV positive.
It happened, but you know, I didn't go through the stress or the angst that many people experience that many of my friends that have become positive have experienced. I attended my first leather event and I found out that the leather community is very open and accepting of people that are positive.
I have to admit, the difference in handling the situation is, quite frankly, amazing. Say the third guy is telling the truth. He is either very mentally strong, knew this could happen and was prepared to risk it, or never really cared. There are, of course, more options, but those seem to stack up quite well. Skeptic. It is striking, though, that with one being diagnosed in the 80s, a time where there was very little help and the hugely negative reaction from the public, to the guy who was diagnosed 8 years ago, where the help is very much more easily accessible and there being a little more societal understanding, handled their circumstances very differently. That's not to say that some people don't react the same now as the gentleman did back then. Now, some of you may be wondering why we are looking at this video. Well, the next part should help.
I got a lot of really rude, nasty messages online from people with no profile pictures, no way to identify who they were, and just, saying that, I'm giving people AIDS on purpose, or that I am infecting people, that I'm going to die, that I deserved it because I'm sexually free or sexually liberated, so I deserve it, that I'm a slut.
As a rule of thumb, if you take what people online have to say to heart, from people who have no profile pictures, then you may want to either invest in Internet for Dummies or simply get off the internet, or look up troll. If you do the last option, I recommend actively ignoring these people and focus on those that seek to offer constructive advice and recommend suitable things to you. You might still be a slut though. Not that I'm judging. Oh, and as a final little thing before we continue, you have a responsibility to tell every sexual partner you have. Regardless of where they originate, you still have a responsibility. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, on some of these dating sites, they use a phrase when they're looking for a certain person. They'll say, you must be clean. So I'm being profiled as being a dirty person because I'm HIV positive, which is like farthest from the truth. So there's a stigma there for sure.
I don't think it's so much a stigma and more a personal preference. And the fact it offends you enough to make that assumption is somewhat unsurprising. Now, I'm not sure if dating sites or apps have an STD screening thing or keep records for that kind of stuff. But for me, if I wanted to date someone through that, I wouldn't want to have sex with them on the first date. I would want proof that the person is clean, and I of course would do the same in return. It seems right to be open and upfront when you get to that stage. Even if it is only about sex, you should be regular on those tests. Granted, you in this instance are screwed from the get-go, but that doesn't mean you are entitled to another person that would prefer not to have sex with you, and you shouldn't then blame it on a societal stigma, but instead look to handle the rejection and move on. And I know that seems callous and short, abrupt perhaps, but we all get rejected for some reason. Yes, okay, yours is a very extreme, a very big reason, but it is still rejection, and the way to handle that for a lot of people seems to follow a very similar path.
It actually really sucks. For instance, on Grindr, I've been blocked when I've been like open and honest. They solely look at your diagnosis, categorize you like most of us do in America, put you in a box, and then kind of shove you off to the side.
Would you want someone that blocked you in your life anyway? If they can't see past it, and they are free to do so, then they were never right for you to begin with. While it does show a freedom to choose, it also shows a lack of intelligence when it comes to safe sex, and personally, I would rather be with someone that has at least 2 brain cells to rub together. Do not let the rejection lead you to blame, as that doesn't solve anything.
I was able to have some relationships as far as being physical with guys again, but the boyfriend thing never happened. I have been single since the 80s.
To me, being HIV positive, I don't really notice it. It's just something that it's part of me, but I don't think about it. I take a pill at night, and besides going to a doctor every 3 months to do my blood work, it's really a non-issue for me. It doesn't affect my life.
Putting these two next to each other, I get the feeling it would have been so much more powerful if it was the other way round, i.e. the last guy being first, showing how well adjusted one person is to somebody who has gone through this for a long time and how it's affected them over time.
To those of you who won't open up your heart and date someone who is HIV positive, you need to open a book or go to a website, just like I did.
And you need to not make assumptions about people rejecting you, sex-shaming people who make the decision not to date you, no matter the reason, and you need to get on with your life without thinking a relationship is the only thing that truly matters, so people not dating you is the literal end of the world, and prove that people need to unlearn their sexual desire biases.
The advent of better medications for the last 8 to 10 years, I've been undetectable, which means that it's almost impossible for me to pass on the virus. So with my undetectable status and condoms and PrEP, that's just a triple layer of protection.
This is going to sound incredibly callous, but no matter the amount of protection, there is still a chance. A small percent, and that small percent is all anyone needs to make the decision to simply say no. But I am incredibly happy that advancements have been made to make it easier for people with HIV to be intimate with other people. And I hope we continue to make scientific advancements to help people.
People are definitely missing out if they are closing themselves off from anybody who is positive or black, Asian, or feminine.
Those aren't comparisons you really want to be making. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that, because this actually shocked me.
You never know what a person has inside him and how he will surprise you if you actually give him a chance to get to know him. You are truly missing out if you are not meeting somebody just because of a checklist on his profile.
I so badly wanted to cut in when you said what a person has inside them. It seemed pretty obvious, but too low-hanging fruit really to make that joke. This video reeks of making people feel bad, sex-shaming as I mentioned earlier, and quite frankly, it doesn't work. Personal preference takes precedent over that kind of shaming tactic. And I think there's a slight difference between a checklist on a profile and a debilitating disease that could, even with such a low percentage and all of that precaution, infect another person. Thank you all for listening.